So we're talking about building responsive lists. So let me tell you first a story of what I did when I got started, and I kind of did this a little bit on accident, okay? And it wasn't really that scientific, and then I'm going to lead into how to do it in a more scientific way, and I've got a bonus for those of you who buy the course and the coaching, where we're actually going to give you a whole structure map of how to build this for any business that's going to totally blow you away. So let me go back over here and show you what I did, okay? So when I got started, all right, I had to do things in a different way. I'd been homeless, I'd been living in a van, I'd been in network marketing for like 7 years, all right? And I had been pitching to everyone. I didn't know about target marketing because they never train you on it in the audios, right? The audios are just story after story after story. But what I realized later when I learned about target marketing is listening to all those audios taught me who is it that really buys these products and stays in for a long time, because there's stories about who these people were. So all this knowledge that I got, right, this whole time was absolutely invaluable once I actually learned the skills to actually go and apply. And that's one of the reasons why I was able to succeed so quick, was because of my background. So when I got started, I had no money, I had no list, I didn't have a way of building a list fast, right, other than free stuff. And here's what I did. I went online, okay, and I started up a blog, and I started building a list through doing SEO and, you know, attracting leads through blogging and stuff like that. Something we teach a lot, but we're not really covering today, right? So I started building a list through blogging because it was free and I didn't have to spend money on paid ads. And I started, like, you know, building this list. And I had this list that started to come in. I was getting, you know, at first it was like 5 to 10 leads a day. And I was like, I got to send something to them, right? So what I did is I went online and I started just looking at random people's websites that made a lot of money selling stuff. And actually, I don't think I've ever told this story, but what I did, I was actually in this system and I was looking online and I saw Jonathan Budd. Some of you guys know them. He's one of my great friends, actually. I love Jonathan. And Jonathan had on his blog, he had a little capture, you know, form that said, free 8-day boot camp on how to become like an MLM recruiting master or something. I actually can't remember what he said it was for, but it was like free 8-day boot camp, right? Now I actually never watched his boot camp, but what I did was I went back on my blog and I put a little thing that said free 8-day boot camp, right? Now I didn't have one, right? But I needed a way to capture leads, right? And I needed something to give them, and I was just looking and saying, you know, what are people doing, right? So I had this free boot camp, right? And then here's literally what I did. Right? Over the course of like the next 45 days, as I was learning what to do, I put together a free training boot camp teaching people in 8 videos literally exactly what I was doing step by step as I was learning it, right? So I actually put together these videos as I was learning what I was doing, right, before I even had anything delivered. Now I'm not saying that's what you should do, that's just what I did, okay? And here's what I did, all right? So I go out there in this boot camp and I start learning about blogging and I start learning about, you know, funded proposals and attractive marketing. So the first video that I had was I was like, why you need a funded proposal to build your business and how to recruit through those, because I just went through a training on it, right? So I explained to them how to do that, and then this video, what did it do? This video sold them the funded proposal that I was using, right? And then I was like, well, the next thing you need to build your business is, you know, you need a blog. And here's actually how to generate leads blogging. And I actually demonstrated how to get leads blogging in the next video. So I was like, here's how to get leads blogging, right? And I actually demonstrated, and I showed people what I was doing in this video. It was a tutorial video. And I was like, well, if you're going to have a blog, you know, you need blogging hosting. And this isn't going to work, of course, unless you have the funded proposal. So, you know, mine is a little sloppy. I was like, so here's, you know, you want to buy your video hosting, and then you want to go buy this funded proposal. You need to buy it, right? And then I had this third video, and I come up along, and I was like, so here's how to, you know, sell your opportunity, because you want to be able to sell your opportunity to, you know, the funded proposal. So when people come in and they buy this, you know, funded proposal, you got to be able to get on the phone with them. Here's how to sell your opportunity. So I had this little video. This is kind of as I was learning how to do this, I was just kind of acting at the same time, right? But I was like, here's how to do it, and here's an example of it, and here's actually, I'm going to show you, I want to show you guys how I'm doing this. So what I'm actually doing is I'm going to present my opportunity to you, and I want you to watch it even if you're not interested. And the reason I want you to watch the presentation is to see how you should really be selling your opportunity. So I kind of suckered them into watching my opportunity based on they watched me sell mine, and then they'd learn how to sell theirs, but then I'd get them, right? So then I'd do that, but then I'd, you know, if they bought that, I'd be like, well, now you also need to, you know, blog if you haven't got that. And by the way, if you have a blog, you're doing that, you need to learn how to capture leads, right? And you need to learn how to sell to your leads. And to do that, you need an autoresponder. So I was like, you need an Aweber account. So here's a link. to get your Aweber account, right? And so I just kind of like started putting these videos together, explaining what I was doing, right? But I was really good at selling too. We're going to talk about that in a bit. I just was explaining what I was doing, what tools I was using, and how I was doing it step by step, completely for free. Like I was giving away the farm for free. I could have sold that 8-day boot camp for a couple $100, but I didn't know that, of course, when I was new. I just was giving it away for free because I was like, well, I'm going to help people, right? But here's what happened, is this series, right, it solved all of the problems that I had had over the last 7 years. Like my goal in that series, it was like, I want to, when I go out in the marketplace, teach people that things that if I was taught them 7 years ago, I would have skipped over that 7 years, right? So people went through that series, and I put it together for free. I put tons of thought into it. Of course, I had all day because I was homeless, right? And I put that series together, and people would go through, and they'd be like, holy crap, right? That's why I'm not recruiting. Like, they'd be like, shoot, that's why I'm not able to capture leads. I don't have an autoresponder. So I was explaining to people step by step, here's how to get leads. Then I was like, now here's how to do, content marketing. So I had a little section on content marketing, and I had a little tool I was selling. It was like some article submitter thing that would never work in 2014, but it worked really great in 2010 or 2009, right? Well, this little article submitter thing, I ended up making like $150,000 selling this little tool, right? It was just ridiculous, what was happening. So I made this series, okay, and it was 8 videos long, and the whole thing was designed to do one thing. It was designed to teach people what to do who were going to join my team later in the process of selling them and making money while I was leading them down a path to get them to join me, all right? And it worked unbelievably well. What happened from this is because the leads that I was getting were really high quality, because they were coming from, SEO and content marketing, when people came into this list, I was actually recruiting about 1 in 8 to 1 in 10 leads that I was getting coming into my list for like a $500 buy-in. Now that's not normal, all right? Now I'm going to explain the next section of how I did that in the next module when I talk about funded proposals and how to use them, because there's a whole art to recruiting from small lists, all right? And most people who recruit a lot, they have huge lists. Well, I was recruiting more than most people with huge lists with a really tiny list, okay? And I was doing it by following this process. But this is essentially what that video series was, all right? And this is essentially what I had built for myself when I started. And I kept doing this for about, actually until I started Empower Network is how long I did this for. This is how I built like my whole list and my whole teams before Empower Network, is this process. And literally I left those videos the same for 2 years without changing them at all. And they kept working 2 years later the same as they worked when I made them, okay? And the only reason I stopped doing it is because I got distracted building a company, and we had like 50,000 people in here and had to figure out how to run a company and stuff, right? But I did this, and I looked at this, and because I was talking to Mars, and I was like, he was asking me questions about, how did you really do what it is that you were doing, and how did you build this list of people to sell to? See, because when I started this company, when I started Empower Network, right, most people thought I had some huge monster, gigantic list when I started this company. I didn't. I'd recruited like 5,000 people into different businesses since I'd started online, and I had recruited those 5,000 people from a total list size, including unsubscribes, of maybe 25,000 people, but an active list that I had when I started this company of only 15,000. And from those 15,000 people that I had on an active list when I started Empower Network, those 15,000 people recruited by first month 650 people, right? It's retarded, right, how cool that is, right? And excuse me, because somebody keeps telling me I shouldn't say retarded. But I'm retarded, that's why I say that, right? So in any case, the reality is those numbers are not normal. But why was I able to produce those numbers? It was because for the first time in somebody's life, they were getting around somebody, okay, that was teaching them literally, exactly, and specifically what to do to solve their problems. And the only thing I was making them buy was the same tools I was using that I was describing how to use in the series. So I literally never told people to buy anything. I never sold that as a course. I told people, here's what I'm using to build my business. Here's what I'm using as a funded proposal, and here's why I'm using it, and here's how it works. Here's what I'm using to build my blog, and here's how I'm using it and why it works and how to use it, and here's where you can get it, and this is actually the best price you can get it at. Here's the autoresponder that I'm using for my personal list. Well, in the process of doing that and just building a list, I sold thousands and thousands and thousands of people on getting the same autoresponder, and I have a big residual income from that. I still have a six-figure residual income from that same first funded proposal that I was promoting that I haven't even mentioned or talked about or had a link out there on the internet to for like 2 years. Okay, I haven't even had a link to it. I removed all the links from everywhere just so people didn't think I'm doing lots of things at once, but I still have a six-figure income from that, right? From this process, I literally became the #1 recruiter in 4 companies between this module and what I'm going to teach you in the next 2. So it worked unbelievably well. Why? Because I was teaching people what I was doing, and I was selling them what I was using, and it was honest, right? So that's the first part of it. Now I'm going to come back and show you how to do this better, and then I'm going to show you how to kind of like paint this out in a model here in a second. But what I want to do is I want to show you the rest of it, okay? So the first part, right, now this is getting people to specifically respond to you and start to be loyal to you, is building a value series that solves their problems. We talked about solving people's problems. We talked about what problems people have, all right? So what you want to do is you want to offer them a solution to what they're struggling with, and then you want to show them, okay, how they can use that solution to get the results they actually want. When you actually show them how to use that solution to get the results that they want, what happens is they become loyal to you because you showed them how to do something that they never had the ability to do before they met you. That gives you the ability to be an authority, okay, an authority, because when you're an authority with those people, when something goes wrong or when they need a change, and something will go wrong and they will need a change most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, guess who they're going to call? They're going to call you. And over a time, you start building a list of more and more and more and more and more powerful people, and then when something happens, they call you and they bring their whole teams in. Right? Now I got a friend, I'm going to talk about this here in a second. I got a friend, her name's Lisa Grossman. A lot of you guys know her.